everyone, my name is Delight ODUNLADE. I'm a student of UK Photo Academy Batch 2 2024. Today we're going to talk about, or basically I'm going to talk about types of portraits. I repeat, types of portraits. Yeah. Give my handwriting now. Types of portraits. Okay, so types of portraits. Basically, generally, people that are not, a photographer or a professional photographer. Before I came to this school too, and it's very common about iPhone users. When you check the phone, you just see portraits, and all our mind is a blurry background or a portrait of just somebody. But when I came here, they revealed the revelation to me that portrait is more than that. So first of all, your idea is portrait must portray. Portrait must portray. So it must portray a meaning to you. So now I start with my definition of a portrait. A portrait is the art of taking pictures or capturing moments that conveys or gives or portrays the personality, the character, the job, the environment of that person. So if you're taking a portrait, the first thing that comes to your mind is it must give a meaning. There must be a meaning out of what you're doing. So that's what the portrait is. So things that you need to consider before you take a portrait. First of all, you need things like your background or backdrop. You need a camera. You need a lighting. You need your audience, actually your subject and what you want to do. So now, if I'm going to take a portrait of someone, I have to engage my viewer. Because of sometimes they won't tell you exactly what they want to do, just I want a portrait. Then it's your responsibility as a photographer to engage with questions like, what do you do? What's your job? What's your personality? What are the things you enjoy doing? So now I'm going to start talking about the types of portrait. Before I go to the screen, I'm going to talk about one type of portrait that is not really fitting completely into types of portrait, but it is. And it's the one that most of us usually do, is traditional portrait. Traditional portrait is a very simple portrait. It's a portrait that just take, be on the camera and snap. You don't really consider too many things. You're not thinking about too many things. All your own idea is you want to take a picture of somebody. And one thing you need to know about portraits is you need two things. You need the face and you need expression. Those are the two things that really matter. So not the portrait of full, basically. From like here to here is what portrait is. So that's traditional portrait. So now I'm going to be talking about beauty portrait, which you can see, or it's called glamour portrait. Are you guys following? Beauty portrait or glamour portrait. So anything about beauty, you're trying to portray it like once your viewer see it, you want your viewer to think of something beautiful, delighted. That's the idea of it. And one thing you should know about portrait is, a portrait is something, when you take a portrait picture, you are not to leave a doubt in your viewer's perspective. Because your portrait must be with simplicity. That's what you're after. So I can't be looking at a portrait picture and I'm actually confused. I need straight simplicity. I look at it and I actually, get what I'm trying to say, and I'm like, oh, this is it, this is it. So I'm talking about beauty portraits. The first viewer who was asked here, she talked about lighting technique. So there are some type of lighting you need to consider when you're talking about beauty portrait, because it gives you some different feel, which you talked about lighting. So things you should consider in beauty portraits, you need something like a beauty dish. And beauty dish, until when you come to UK Academy, you will know deeper about. I don't want to talk about that, but you will see this specular highlighted light on her face, which is as a result of beauty dish. You need a makeup artist. You need a model that is actually beautiful. So when you see this, it portrays a meaning of beauty straight. You need things like that. You need poses. Those are the things you consider, and a background. So this is a beauty portrait, is portraying beauty. So let's go to the next slide. A baby portrait. I personally, I don't think I'm going to take this type of portrait, to be very honest, but it is what we learned here also. So a baby portrait, when you think of a baby, you should know that these people have to be handled with care. And many people think the way you take pictures of people is just the same way you take babies. And when you want to take a portrait about a baby, obviously, portrait, as I said, must give a personality of what this is, a baby. So now, for a child like this, as you can see, it's different from the previous one we saw. And one thing you should know about taking a baby portrait is don't use a direct flash for a child like this. you should not use a direct flash or something like this. You just take it simple, and you're allowed to take the baby sleeping. There's no picture of the other one, sorry, but the other pictures of baby like 2 years, 3 years, those people, you need to get their attention. And the way you take a child of like 14 in puberty is not the same way you take things like this. We're taught that you need to actually study the psychology of a baby. You need to get their attention. You need things like toys. You need to have a good familiarity with them before you can take something like this. And a baby portrait is very difficult to take. It takes time, patience, and everything. But if you are involved in it, you have to portray a baby and look at the baby and like, oh my God, oh, so cute. Some people can take a baby and not attracted, but something like this, it's your desire it's portraying a meaning of what? A baby, yes or no? Yeah. So next slide. Okay, I use environmental portrait. Environmental portrait is very simple. The idea of environmental portrait is taking a picture, capturing a picture or a portrait of a picture in relationship to the environment of the person based on personality. So let me give an example. I want to take a portrait picture of a nurse, which you can see here. It would be, pardon my word, stupid of me as a photographer to take a baby, a nurse like this, probably in a kitchen, or she's not even wearing a scrub. If I take a picture of this now, and I'm writing caption, this is a nurse, I met a nurse today, it's a waste of time. But with this straight simplicity, this is a nurse. So when you're taking things like this in environment, your goal as a photographer is to take that picture that well describes the environment of that person in personality. So like this, you take a nurse in a hospital with scrubs, you can see the glasses, you can put a stethoscope too. So like this straight, the environment best describes the person based on personality. The next one that looks similar to this is lifestyle portrait. And I want to say all environmental portraits are lifestyle portraits. Well, not all lifestyle portraits are environmental portraits. What am I trying to say? Lifestyle portraits it's like in between a candid and pose. So it doesn't have like this is very formal. Oh, let's take a picture and everything. But lifestyle can be unaware. It can be a candid. That's the meaning of unaware. So it's just me taking a picture or a portrait picture of you that best describes what you do most, like your hobby and things like that. So if I'm the kind of person that likes to play ball, or maybe during my fun time that I like to play snooker or PlayStation, if I take a picture of you like that, considering basic things like your lights and everything, that's a picture of me describing your lifestyle. So the next one, this is also a pet portrait. Oh, sorry. Don't worry. This is a pet portrait. It's not really common, but it's just a portrait of a dog. And you are more interested in the characteristics of that dog, the things that make it attractive. And if you want to know something, a dog would actually not stay like this for you to snap. So it's you should know that those are specialists and they know what they want to achieve. So this is a pet portrait. You can also take a portrait with the owner of the dog. I think there's something like that. Yes, you can see. It's also a pet portrait. It's also a type of portrait. Another type of portrait I want to talk about is group portraits. So portraits, I'm talking about single people now and everything. You can take portrait of 4 or 5 people together, and that one is you could also call it family portraits, group portraits or family portraits. So when taking things like group portrait or family portrait, you are going to have a lot of challenges. Challenges with height, challenges with beliefs, challenges with culture, challenges with color scheme, challenges with composition, which someone mentioned, the 2 speaker behind mentioned something about composition. So when you're taking group portraits, there's something you should know. I'm now going to talk about cautions of taking group portraits. You want to avoid shadows. So the same way I took a picture like this, the same way they took a picture like this, you could see shadow and light and everything. If you're taking a group portrait, it's not going to work that way. So you need a proper exposure. So for group portraits, you want to make sure that there are no shadows and nobody is let out of the frame. Everybody has to be captured clearly, and you have to consider you don't have to arrange them. And something about group portrait you need to notice is based on arrangements. You have a tall person, you have a short person, you put the tall person at the end, extreme end, so that you maintain a balance in it, because you want it to be attractive and also have meaning. I can take a group portrait and I can still question you, but if I want to take a group portrait of an example like an organization, I'll best probably want to have maybe the billboard of the organization at the back, but not really the main focus of attention. That's where your type of lenses come. You blur the background, but a bit of it gives you a meaning. I'm not questioning you. And if it's a family portrait, I can take it in the house. The dressing speaks for itself. The unity speaks for itself. So even if you don't take a good portrait, it doesn't mean that everybody has to be together and just snap. It must have a meaning. So that's what is called a group portrait. There are many other portraits like Boudoir, Boudir. It's a portrait that like portrays sensual, most times sensual, and the character and confidence of that person. Most times taken in the bedroom just to give that confidence, and it's a bit sexual. You just see it's very, So with this few points of mine, I'm sure I'm able to convince you that I've directly delivered what the type of portrait is, and I could have not learned this without coming to UK Academy. Thank you.